Let me catch you up to speed here. This is my 2002 BMW 540 Project Black Pearl. In the last video, we were dropping the rear end and disassembling everything to get prepped for bushing replacement and control arm replacement. Along the way, we found a few things to upgrade, change, or play with while we were in there, because, of course, it's always something to do while you're in there. Judah and I are going to continue on while we're in there with quite a bit more today. Well, we've been playing with one of the control arms. This is the driver's side, and we've already got our bushings installed. I couldn't find OEM bushings for the lower control arm. I could only find lower control arms as a whole. So I went with the PowerFlex Black street bushings to get as close to a street feel as possible. I recognize that they'll be a little stiffer than the rubber bushings, but it is what it is, and we'll deal with that. Now let's talk about tools. For years, I've been collecting tools, and I've got different ball joint adapters and press and wheel bearing and all sorts of things stacked up here. But recently, I picked up a different set of tools from Vevor. Well, not recently, like 6 months ago, but I got their, I don't even know what this one is called. I'll link it down below. Their bushing extractor kit. And it has a whole litany of different sizes in here. And it worked out perfectly for getting that thing done. And we're going to use a combination of my press and the bushing tools and the screw arm and everything. It's really not that bad. And I think it's worth it versus buying the whole arm as a unit to get the bushings. So let's get these ones out and get our new ones pressed down. Just like that, got the old ones out. This was the tore up bushing anyhow. It's got a tear all the way around one side. You see the big crack right there all the way through the other side. Now for our bushings, there's two styles here. There's this just drop-in one that goes in the rear, and then the front one is a two-piece design with a sleeve and a bushing that we have to press through, which is actually kind of a pain in the butt. But we did come up with a way to get it done fairly simple. It does have this little relief, so it'll center up as it's going in. So we'll use the same tools that we pressed the old bushing out to get this one back in there. So this part is the kind of tricky part. We have to press this oversized lip here through the cup. And what we were finding on the other arm is if we didn't support the cup, this had enough tension to try to push the cup out the backside. So for this, I'm using the 56-46, which is big enough to catch the cup, but will also be big enough for this to somewhat pop inside of. And then on this side, I'm just going to put a little bit of grease on here to try to slip past this edge, because we tried it with, it says use washing liquid or dish soap or something. We tried dish soap and it really did not want to go in. Plus this surface here is not a surface that anything rides on. We can clean this up when we're done. Then I'm just using the flat side of a couple of cups to stack out here. Let's see, this cup is just big enough that that'll pop through and not be stuck. He always asks, can I hit it? Yeah, you can hit it. Just like that, it's in.
All right, so I volunteered to do the second bushing because you just get to hit this one in, and hitting stuff is fun. So this second bushing, it's going to be the rear, and it's just a split piece. So you put it on the top here, and then
Mash your hand
smack it in like that.
Quick pause. I know there are other dads out there that are watching him use his hand as the hammer and going, why isn't he using a hammer? You know the old saying, do as I say, not as I do? Well, it works in inverse too. See, I told him, you're going to smash your hand doing that. Use the hammer. But he's a big, strong, tough guy, and you know what you got to do with them. You got to let them learn. So he's probably going to use his hand a few more times.
Flip it over. Put that side in. And then
Use the open grease.
Use the open grease.
And make sure you fill up all the little joints inside there, the voids. You can just use what's on there, that's plenty. And Judah does not like gloves because he sweats so much they wind up tearing every 2 or 3 minutes. So he just gets dirty.
If that long.
If you are a super sweater, these Grease Monkey style gloves work really well too because they can breathe.
And then for this one, because it's the split bushing, it's really easy. So you can just tap it in with your hand most of the way and then give it a little final tap with the hammer. So
Nice.
now both of those bushings are in.
Progress. Now we have to start the actual hard part, at least in my opinion, and that's getting all the bushings out of the subframe. Which I don't have the subframe tool and I don't have the diff bushing tool, but I'm really hoping the reason I bought this Vevor press cup kit was for this specific job. And I've used it a few times on other things, but this is why I bought it. All right, so we have one of the rear diff bushings out. Get the other one out now. You can really see with it out of the car just how cracked this thing was on both sides here. We're using a combination of cups here. The 66 is what we're using to push it out. That's going to go on the other side. It's going to go on the inside here. And then on the outside, we're using an 80. This tool would definitely be difficult. Well, yeah, I don't know that this would work very well in the car. You would need to drop the carrier or the subframe down to do it this way. You can see on the subframe itself, I marked the top dead center of the bushings. You can see the window in there. We're lined up within a couple of degrees. There's our little mark there. Same thing on this side. Once you figure out lefty-loosey, righty-tighty, it all starts to come out pretty easy. Go ahead.
Oh, hold on. I had to figure it out.
These don't have a whole lot of tension on them. And the instructions call for using a lubricating compound called Circolite on the bushing. I'm just using a woodworking syringe with a little bit of mineral spirits because the lubricant is a rubber emulsifier that's supposed to dry and allow the bushing to stick in place later. If you put that one underneath, it'll hold it as long as you don't go backwards. Is it going?
It's tight.
Yeah.
This is where like an extra deep socket would be helpful.
Dude, I'm definitely getting my money's worth out of this little cup kit. Sweet.
Messed up.
Cracked up too. Now we'll just polish the bore a little bit so that we can get our new one installed. Judah's taking lead on this side.
Trying.
You want me to hold that?
I gotta unscrew this one.
We've got our bushing marked here so we can line it up here as well. So then all I'm doing is putting a little squirt all the way around, letting it run off the back, and then we're gonna go in flush. Now we had used this the other way around before, remember? This cup wanted to slip off of there, so we'll try it. Yeah, see how it's kind of pushing a little sideways there?
Yeah.
With the right cup set up here, now it's going in nice and straight. Then we're just gonna go in flush to the face of the subframe. For the front bushing, we're using a 58 and
48.
48 to try to push the old one out. We're not really sure if we're gonna be able to get the new one in because the BMW tool is like a special conical shape to squeeze the bushing down. So right now, we're just guessing. There it is. Nice. It really,
These guys are very tight.
yeah, goodness. I think it expanded inside of here too, didn't it?
Yeah, this is gonna be a lot in there.
So these bushings have a split in them that when installed, it gets compressed together using the special tool, which is why when you hold this up, you're like, there's no freaking way that's gonna fit in there, which is what we have to figure out how to figure out now. I really don't know what to do yet. It's lined right up.
Yeah,
Looks pretty good.
looks fine.
All right. So what are our lessons with this bushing? Well, if I were to do it again, I wouldn't buy a second bushing as a just in case. I was kind of concerned at how this was going to go. I'm happy with the way it looks, but what I would do next time is what I did on my M5, and I would buy the unicorn egg from Einhorn Industries. That's an aluminum bushing that will just press right in, never have to touch it again, and it doesn't change how harsh everything feels because we're still running the rubber in the back. That's what I would do next time. For you, if you want to run the rubber one using this kit, you can get it done. The hose clamp trick is exactly what I needed to squeeze this guy down to get it to start going in there. If you have the actual special tool, that'll get the job done even easier. Now for the magic, figuring out the subframe. Okay, so the subframe bushings are where we're gonna get into some backyard shenanigans. And if you don't wanna hack this apart, go ahead and fast forward to whatever this number is right up here. For the rest of you that wanna see how we're hacking this thing apart, let me show you. So the BMW special tool has provisions to wrap around the top side of the bushing. Because the top side of the bushing has these reliefs in it, so that the bushing can rise up into the tool. I forgot that years ago, this is 6 years ago now when I did my M5, I actually made the tool myself, and I must have cut it apart at some point. So what we're doing is we're cutting the top flange here off of the bushings like this so that they're nice and flush, applying a little bit of heat to the outside of the subframe. That should be enough, Jay. Okay. And with a bit of heat, it's allowing the bushing to push right up and out. Getting it done, it's coming out. Just don't touch the subframe because it's going to be wicked hot. And up until this point, the Vevor kit has done everything we needed, but we needed a bearing cup a little bit bigger, so I'm using this Harbor Freight Maddox front wheel bearing adapter kit MC21, and that's got this really big cup here that allows the bushing to come up in it. And then we'll stack, once it starts to come loose, one more of these to finish the pull through the top. Bango, bango. So as you can see, this gets a little bit mauled up, but it's nothing that can't be fixed with a little flapper wheel. Good as new for a backyard hack. The bushings themselves are directional. We want to line them up as though they were driving down the road here. So we'll line the front and the rear up with the arrows, and then the side openings here, side to side over there with John. We're using a little bit of our mineral spirits on the side to lube it up as it's going in. As you can see, Judah's able to just squeeze that baby in there quite easily.
With the subframe mechanicals dialed in, we turn to cosmetics. And let me tell you, having a helper that is willing and able in the shop, man, is that something different. Judah's only 13 and he really does enjoy helping me here, and he spent a ton of time polishing up this subframe. While he was working on the subframe, I was working on the lower control arms, and we took a little bit of time to just get this thing looking fantastic. I was able to point out a few ways to make it easier on him, and of course, he was like, well, let me try again. So he jumped in there, tried again until it was looking just right. Man, Judah, I really gotta say thank you. This looks great. So you might remember in the last video, I hinted at powder coating the rear diff cover. And you know, if I'm gonna powder coat the rear diff cover, I can't leave the diff looking all gross. So we got it cleaned up and spray painted, and then the rear cover itself, it needed a lot of work. There was a bunch of little niblets and casting flash and stuff on here, and then the actual casting marks, I wanted all of that gone. So I took some time and I sanded it and polished it, not to a shine, but to a nice enough finish to get a smooth powder coat on there. Then a couple of bake cycles before we could get the powder on. Got the powder on outside when there was a low wind moment, got that into the oven, and woo-wee, does it look good. But of course I'm going to leave you hanging until we install that on our freshly coated diff. The last thing we needed to take care of was we needed to get the lower ball joints out of the rear knuckles. And I've got John here helping me. He got those out of both and reinstalled. It was pretty easy. We just used the cups that were in that Vevor kit. Push, pull, shove, squeeze, scream, holler, throw tools. And, well, it went in. Look, I really appreciate you watching. Let me know if you like this different format that I'm working on here. A little bit less DIY, a little bit more. Here's what we're doing in the shop. Really appreciate it. Like, subscribe, comment. We look forward to seeing you in the next one.